Last update, Epic added a backlink into the files that might have just leaked the Chapter 4 map. We're talking about the Zero Fragment backlink that has a description initiating Zero Fusion. You can obviously see 3 pieces here that look like they're being fused together to create one. Even before this backlink, people were speculating that the Chapter 4 map could be the Chapters 1, 2, and 3 maps merged together. And with this backlink being leaked, that just adds even more credibility to that theory. I've said this before, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of this idea. I'd rather just have a brand new map, but it does actually look kind of likely we could get this ever since this backlink was leaked. It's also going to be a free reward for attending the Chapter 3 finale event, Fracture, so it obviously is lore related. I wanted to create a visual for what this next map could be, so I went to the drawing board, Photoshop. All right, here we are in Photoshop. Hey, this is the thumbnail for this video. Anyway, this is the map that I've come up with. This is a very rough draft. I mean, a lot of things just don't make sense. Over here, this hill is just getting cut off. The roads are getting cut off. You know, it just doesn't make sense, but you guys still get the idea by looking at it. Another thing is we've seen Chapter 1 POIs come back and they get updated with new graphics. I think if we were to see a large portion of the Chapter 1 map terrain come back, it would obviously be all updated with the new graphics, whether that's the current graphics or hopefully new graphics that we'll get for Chapter 4. So this is how I've decided to split the 3 maps. Chapter 1 gets the bottom piece, Chapter 3 gets the top left, and then Chapter 2 gets the whole right side. So let's talk about why I chose these areas for each chapter. So starting off with Chapter 1, I mean, I think this area here is just all iconic. I spent probably most of my time on the Chapter 1 map down in this large section here, but yeah, you got Dusty, Salty, Fatal, just iconic POIs. I don't think a lot of people liked Salty on the Chapter 2 map, but on the Chapter 1 it was pretty good. You had the basement in the blue house and we had the tall mountain, idiot mountain some people called it, but yeah, just land on top of that mountain, get some snipes. It was always a good time. We got the desert here, and something interesting that I added is the prison. So this was in the Season X map. It was a rift zone, and if you crouched you would turn into a prop, which was kind of annoying, but on its own it was actually a pretty good POI, and I think they were able to fit it quite well into the desert. So I'd like to see it come back for real with the ability to crouch and not turn into a chair. That would be nice. Really liked Paradise Palms, really liked the whole desert. I mean, it was just a good place to be. And then over here we have the factories above Flush. Some people called it Yonder Yard. This was my main drop spot of the Chapter 1 map, and that's something you're going to notice. I mean, I obviously handpicked this map, and kind of the chapters positions were based on if they had my main drop spot. This was my main drop spot for Chapter 1. Yonder Yard landed here so many games. It's just such a good POI. It wasn't even named, but such a good location, had a lot of loot. And over here we have the chair, the big tree, we got the hill with Grandma's house. I mean, just a lot of iconic stuff in this whole area here. I think would be a pretty good part to bring back. Chose Dusty Divot over Dusty Depot. I don't know, I really like Dusty Divot. I don't know how people really felt about it. I mean, some people said, you know, it was pretty good, a lot of loot. Some people said it was kind of annoying that it was low ground, but yeah, I was a big fan of Dusty Divot. I liked it a lot better than the original depot. And I think it would work as a better transition into the water surrounding it. Maybe it could get flooded at some point, I don't know. And that's pretty much it for the Chapter 1 section. Now, to be honest, I kind of just copy and pasted, you know, cut out the chapter parts and merged them together, and there was kind of this dead space here, so I just filled it in with water, made a new POI, Fractured Fragments. I think the name, or a cool name, of Chapter 4 Season 1, if this is a new map we get, something like this, would be Fragments. I think that would describe it pretty well. And then I just added some things in the water here, the Loot Lake Island, the Lazy Lake, or the Misty Meadows Island, the pirate ships, just stuff like that, and made it its own POI over here. Moving on to Chapter 3, I just chose the whole snow area. Now, the snow actually stopped around Covert Cavern. It didn't actually go down once it melted, but I just decided why not? It's just Camp Cuddle. Let's just make the whole Chapter 3 area snow. And yeah, I really did like this section of the Chapter 3 map. I think my favorite locations on Chapter 3 were probably Logjam and Condo, and then once Covert Cavern got added, that definitely took that place by far. I mean, it was just such a good location. Command Cavern, I'd say it was an upgrade, but I don't think it was a necessary upgrade. I think Covert was just fine. So yeah, that's why I went with this area. Love the snow. Shifty Shafts, if we are to get Shifty Shafts on the new map, one thing that they have to do is bring back the 2 houses that were near Shifty. I think so many people landed there, liked looting those houses. I don't know why they didn't bring it back for the Chapter 3 map. And then we also combined the top half of Sleepy Sound with the bottom, which I put Craggy Cliffs here. I don't know, I think it just kind of lined up pretty well, so that could work, and that could be like a fusion POI, Sleepy Cliffs, or Craggy Sound. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The names, when they combine two different POIs, Moisty Palm, Salty Towers, it never really sounds good, but I think it would be a cool POI idea over here. And then the final section, chapter 2 on the right side. Now, you might be asking, why choose Colossal Coliseum over any other section that was in this area of the map? Well, we already had Fatal Fields here, so I didn't think there was a point in adding Frenzy Farm or whatever farm came after this, because there's just no point in having two farms, especially this close to each other. So I went with Colossal Coliseum. Also adds a new biome onto this map, the 0 Point Desert. You'd be able to get the 0 Point crystals from here. You'd be able to get hop rocks from Dusty. I think it would just work pretty well. If you have a keen eye, you may have noticed Steamy Stacks is blue. It's not purple. Well, on the old map, Steamy Stacks was purple, and we know that that was because the actual cube was under there powering it. I just think if Steamy Stacks came back and it was purple, we would know that the cube was under there, and we would know that at some point the cube is going to come out of there. So I figured, why not just change it blue? Maybe you could go and get shield by going into the stacks. And then moving down here, Dirty Docks, Retail Road. Dirty Docks was my main drop spot on the chapter 2 map, so I had to go with this section of chapter 2. I know a lot of people might have actually chose the bottom area of chapter 2. You have Lazy Lake, Misty Meadows, Slurpy Swamp, but I had to go this side literally just for Dirty Docks, and because I like the bottom area of chapter 1 more, so I had to place that here. And then another classic POI, Retail Row. I really liked Retail Row on the chapter 2 map. I don't know what it is. I think it was more out of the way than it was on the chapter 1 map. It was closer to the center, but I just like the surrounding hills, the zip lines over here. I think it was a good time. If the map ends up actually being a fusion of all the previous chapters maps, would you guys like to see this, or would you split it up another way? And what other features would you guys like to see in chapter 4? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I'm hoping that when we launch it for the first time, it feels like a brand new game. The transition from Season X to chapter 2 was insane. Brand new graphics, swimming, fishing, new UIs, weapon icons, everything just felt different. But if I'm being honest, the transition from Chapter 2 Season 8 to Chapter 3 felt pretty tame in comparison. Everything looked and felt pretty similar. And don't get me wrong, Chapter 3 Season 1 was a great season, probably in my top 3 seasons of all time. But I mean, even look at Chapter 3 Season 4 now and compare it to Chapter 2 Season 8, it just looks so similar. So I'm hoping that Chapter 4 brings some refreshing changes. And guys, if you want to stay up to date with everything Fortnite, everything Chapter 4, as everything gets leaked, gets announced, I'm going to be covering it here, breaking everything down. You don't want to miss it. If you guys liked the video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.